So this is 3rd and 6. Mahomes throws the cross, is intercepted on the deflection. Brian Branch, the rookie, ties the game with his first NFL touchdown.
Brian Branch, they have been excited since the day they drafted him, right through the hands of Tony. An absolutely perfect throw that'll go down as an interception for Patrick Mahomes.
Out of Alabama, who's worked his way into the nickel spot. Ball finds him, finishes it off. The Branch score evens the game.
The Lions still had plenty to do to nail it down last night, but that was the moment it all changed. When Kadarius Toney had the ball in his hands, it pops up. Brian Branch takes it in for a touchdown, ties the game at 14, and spoiler alert, the Lions win the game 21-20. I'm still in Kansas City. It is a subdued and sullen and quiet morning in Kansas City. Peter is in Detroit in a newsroom where I assume it is very raucous. The roar has been restored. The Lions are back, baby. Good morning, Peter. How are you?
Good morning, Mike. And I'll tell you, the one thing about that game last night is that everything that could have gone wrong for Kansas City did go wrong. And particularly, I mean, look, Kadarius Toney is the goat of the week, and they don't even have to play any games on Sunday to figure that out. But I think the other part of this game that if I'm a Kansas City fan or if I'm Andy Reid that bothers me is how incredibly inefficient the offense was. If you told me at the start of the game that Sky Moore and Kadarius Toney would combine for 1 receiving yard, and that would happen on a night when the right tackle, Juwan Taylor, got away with 40, 20, 30, however many false starts because he was getting off the ball early on virtually every snap. And it just, this was not an Andy Reid team last night.
Really amazing, and plenty of adversity for the Chiefs of late, and you feel like that weighed them down to a certain extent. But also, before we focus on the Chiefs, I'll just say this. You know, we lock in our picks well before we go to the stadium for the opening night game. And I can't say we locked in our picks before I got the sense, being around here at the hotel, there's a lot of Lions fans in town. And even though there's a disconnect between the team and the fans, I know going to the Super Bowl, it was 48 in New York, and everybody thought the Broncos were going to win. And a few days beforehand, it's like, man, there's a lot of Seahawks fans here. There's just a lot more than I thought. And of all the cities I've been in for the Week 1 game, this was the most the opposing team's fans have infiltrated ahead of time. And it was, and then we get to the stadium, and it's Honolulu blue up the wazoo, all around at the front. They're loud. They're chanting, "Let's go Lions," before the game. And they never stopped. And when the Lions came out, it was too late for me to go back. My hand was off the checker. But when they do the perfunctory, "Ladies and gentlemen, Dan Campbell and the Detroit Lions," and boo. Well, no, those Lions came out, and there was just, you've witnessed that, Peter, at some point, where the team comes out and there's something there. And there's something like, you know what, we're going to piss on your, sorry, London, we're going to piss on your party tonight. We're taking it. And that's a nice banner you got there. It'll be a shame if somebody pisses on it tonight. And that's what the Lions did. But you could feel it before the game. And still, it was only a 1-point win. And a lot of things had to fall Detroit's way and not fall Kansas City's way. But I want to give the Detroit Lions their due. I said before the game, are they ready for prime time? Their fans were. But this is a hell of a primetime draw to get Mahomes and the Chiefs on a night that they're unfurling a banner. I got to give them credit. This is a tough spot, difficult circumstance. They came in and they took it. The Chiefs let them hang around, and they took it. And if that's how the Lions are going to play this year, the Lions are going to go places in 2023.
You know, Mike, I'll take you back about 6 weeks now. The day I was in training camp in Allen Park, Michigan, at the Lions facility, it was raining. It was a steady rain, not a pouring rain, but a steady rain. And I got to the facility for a morning practice at about, I don't know, I'd say 7:15, 7:30. It was an 8:15 practice. And I could not believe my eyes, because there were probably, I don't know, 500, 700, 800 people in line, not many with umbrellas, waiting in line to get into this practice, just getting rained on. And as someone who goes to a lot of training camps, and again, look, I haven't gone to Detroit every year, but I had never seen anything like this. And the enthusiasm at that practice, the, understanding. Some guy yelled out to rookie tight end Sam Laporta in maybe his 5th practice as a professional, "Hey, Sam, we need you this year." And so there was so much of a different feel that I got in Lions training camp, and it kind of portended what you saw in that stadium last night. I think the one other thing I would say just about sort of the atmosphere and all that, look, Mike, I watched the game on TV, so I didn't know. But it seemed to be a little bit, the fans on their heels a little bit in Kansas City, especially in the second half when everything started to go wrong. And look, I never think that what happens the first game of the season is going to be tremendously influential if you lose the game. But if you win the game, I think it can be a great harbinger of things to come for that team. And that's why, if I'm the Lions, I'm thrilled. I'm euphoric. You aim for this game the entire offseason. The NFL, I can tell you, because I do a lot of reporting on the schedule, there were a lot of people in the NFL, in and around the NFL, who didn't want this as the first game because they were afraid of it being 28-7 at halftime and people turning off their TVs. But the Lions saw to it, and obviously some circumstances saw to it, that this was going to be a game for 4 quarters, and that's exactly what it was.
Well, I know there was concern, and Sims and I talked about this yesterday, just the idea that nationally, when people see Lions-Chiefs as the first game of the season, it's not going to resonate the way that it would if it were a sexier matchup. But all of a sudden, here come the Lions with the cachet, and what a bookend. And look, I said it, and I'll admit it, I've been following football for 50 years. The Lions have not been great for 60 years. Since Bobby Lane, there have been little bits and spurts in the Barry Sanders years, but they last won a playoff game in January of 1992, for crying out loud. It's been more than 30 years for the Lions. So I just need to see it. Tony Dungy said similar things this week. He grew up a Lions fan. I just need to see it. He was there through all the times where, hey, this is the year. Hey, this is the year. Hey, this is the year. And it's never the year. But, yeah, this is a great way to kickstart it. You're right. From the Chiefs' perspective, no reason to panic. Long way to go. Chris Jones will be back at some point, week 8 at the latest. Travis Kelce presumably will be back sooner than later, although I don't know. There's just kind of a weird vibe. There was some discussion from Melissa Stark during the game last night about Travis Kelce being in a pool yesterday and not being able to get any weight on the knee. And I'm taking a wait-and-see approach to how this plays out. I was led to believe there's just some mild discomfort. It sounds like it was something other than mild discomfort yesterday morning, but we'll have time to talk about that. The bottom line is the Chiefs will figure this out. For the Chiefs to have lost last night, as you said, a lot of stuff went sideways. A lot of weird things happened. They still have Patrick Mahomes, and they'll figure it out around him over the course of the season. If you're going to have guys that can't hold on to footballs, they're not going to be playing. And I'm stunned that Kadarius Toney continued to be in that game after that many drops. I felt like Patrick Mahomes was getting exasperated with 19 on the field. But for as much as I believe, as you do, that the Chiefs will get this figured out, the Lions already have it figured out. What a kick in the pants for them to start the season. They go home now, huge Week 2 game, Seahawks. Then they get the Falcons, back-to-back games at Ford Field, which is sold out for the first time in forever. And we'll see what they can do. But I can imagine Dan Campbell's already telling them, forget about what happened on Thursday night. If you don't stay focused, if you don't stay hungry, if you don't stay ready to win, people are going to forget all about what happened. That's just going to be a blip on the radar screen. And the Lions in position to really prove that they belonged in that game last night. So we saw them end last season, knocking out Aaron Rodgers from the postseason and ending his time with the Packers. And now we see him, for the first time ever, delivering an opening day loss to Patrick Mahomes.
You know, Mike, I'm glad you brought that up. 2 points. Number one, I think I liked what Dan Campbell said after the game last night. I don't know that anybody even paid attention to it. But he said, I'm going to go home and enjoy this for 2 or 3 days. And then we're going to get on with it. I think too many coaches, honestly, say things after a game like that. Hey, you know, when we land back in Detroit, it's on to Seattle or, you know, whatever. And good for them. They've got the weekend off now, and I'm sure that the coaches won't be off totally. But in essence, the Detroit Lions should enjoy this. They should soak this in for 2 or 3 days because they've got the weekend off. Enjoy it. That doesn't take anything away from your preparation for the next game or the next game or the next one. So that's one thing. And I think the second thing that I would say, Mike, about where Detroit is right now as a team, I thought there was a great stat last night, and I forget who said it. There's a great stat that, in essence, since Brad Holmes became the general manager, 20 of his 23 draft picks are on this team right now. And that tells me that not only did the Detroit Lions hire the right head coach in Dan Campbell to rebuild this thing, but they also hired the right general manager. And, you know, he always had faith in 2 things. Number one, he had faith in Jared Goff to turn it around, and he had faith in his own ability after having been with the Rams for a long time and seen the Rams do so many good things in the late rounds of drafts that we, you know, obviously we got to hit on the high picks, but we need to hit on the lower picks as well. And so I don't want this show to go by, this day to go by, without there being some appreciation for the team that has been built by Brad Holmes.
And I saw Brad Holmes before the game. We chatted briefly, and there was kind of a looseness to him, kind of a smile and a twinkle in the eye that they sensed what was coming. They believed in what they could do. And last night, it's kind of like, you know, you study for that exam and you're really not sure how you're going to do on it, and you get the paper back and you look down and you see, yeah, you know what? I knew, and now everybody knows that we got this all figured out. Here's Dan Campbell, coach of the Lions, from after the game, talking about what he learned about his Lions team from last night's win.
I didn't learn anything. I got verification on what I already knew. And this is a resilient team. It already was a resilient team, and we added pieces to that resilient team. So we're built to handle some stuff, and we did that today against a very good opponent.
That's the key. You take the punches, you hang around. You know it's going to be a long fight. There will be ups and downs and highs and lows. It's how you deal with the lows and how you get the most out of the highs. When opportunity knocks, when the ball squirts into the air, Brian Banks snatches it and takes it in, and that's, you know, the moment where it felt, okay, it's 14-7, and it feels like, and I said this in the first half when it was 7-7. The thing about the Chiefs is they can score 28 points in one quarter, and it's just boom, and it happens, and it's over, and it's done. It's close, and then it's done. And it kind of felt like that had the possibility of happening last night. Until that, when it's 14-7. Okay, one more, 21-7, and that's it. Night-night. And it's going to be 28-7 before we know it, and the final score is going to be 31-13. Hi, it's Mike Florio. Thanks for watching PFT on YouTube. Hit subscribe for the latest news and analysis from Pro Football Talk.